All right, guys, what's going on? Levi Trumbull reporting here. So we have breaking news surrounding yet another legal action, legal affair that Frederick County Public Schools has found themselves as a named defendant in. Now, you will remember we just broke a story a few days ago about a negligence lawsuit, the fourth negligence lawsuit that I have reported on in the past year. That incident was pertaining to an individual who claims that he was hurt in a auto vehicle accident just outside of Tuscarora High School in 2021, and he just filed a negligence lawsuit against Frederick County Public Schools. This is not that lawsuit. This is actually a completely different kind of lawsuit, and we didn't bring it to you at the time because of how different the case type is, but nonetheless, this is another legal action that Frederick County Public Schools has just found themselves in, so we're going to tell you all about it. So this right here is a Maryland Public Information lawsuit that was filed by an individual from Frederick, Maryland named Willie J. Mahone. It was filed on December 21st of last year, and like we just mentioned, it is a complaint for enforcement of the Maryland Public Information Act. Now, listed as defendants in this complaint are Cheryl Dyson. She is the superintendent of FCPS, and also sued is Frederick County Public Schools. Now, again, what a Maryland Public Information lawsuit is when a custodian fails to provide a record or declines to provide a record for whatever reason. If there's issues with the application process, the process of obtaining public records from a citizen of Maryland, from a custodian of records, when there's an issue that arises, you can go through the ombudsman or you can file a lawsuit. Again, you can file a Maryland Public Information lawsuit. So that is what this situation pertains to. Now, you remember the fact that the Sugarloaf Alliance recently did this with Frederick County government, and they were successful, so successful that the Frederick County government was actually sanctioned in the amount of $25,000 for withholding records that should have been prior released. So this is not particularly a new set of action in Frederick County. We have seen these types of lawsuits being brought before, and actually successful ones at that. So with all that, we are going to give you an overview of what is inside this complaint and what is being alleged, how specifically the Maryland Public Information Act is being broken or is alleged to have been broken as it reads in this complaint. So with that, let's just get right into it. So it starts off with an introduction, and it says this is an action for damages against the Frederick County Public Schools and Dr. Cheryl Dyson, Superintendent of Frederick County Public Schools, and for declaratory and injunctive relief. Plaintiff Willie J. Mahone seeks enforcement of the State of Maryland Public Information Act requiring the disclosure of public and personal records. Now, it has a jurisdiction and venue statement, of course, that is necessary to lay out in a complaint. It also lays out who the parties are. So it says that Willie Mahone is a citizen of the United States and resident of Frederick County, Maryland. He is also an applicant and a person of interest under the Maryland Public Information Act. It goes on to say who Dr. Dyson is. She is the superintendent of Frederick County Public Schools, and it also gives an overview of who FCPS is. Obviously, that is the school system here in Frederick County, Maryland. And it goes on to list the statement of facts, which we are going to read you right now. This is the heart of the situation. On November 14th, 2023, plaintiff forwarded a letter to defendant Dr. Cheryl Dyson requesting a copy of all documents of an investigation that FCPS had conducted regarding the transfer of a student from Frederick High to Thomas Johnson High. That letter also indicated that the information request was being made pursuant to Section 4-311 of General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and requested the redaction of any perceived proscribed disclosures. The request was in furtherance of plaintiff's investigation and information gathering of racial harassment of FCPS students. So that was his aim and object, was to try to get information about racial harassment of FCPS students. It goes on. On November 17, 2023, Defendant Dyson responded to plaintiff's request, denying disclosure of the requested information and stating that the information was exempt from disclosure by provisions of the MPIA and the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, which is called FERPA. Neither the MPIA nor FERPA prevents the disclosure of the requested information. FERPA prevents disclosure of educational records containing personally identifiable information regarding students. MPIA prevents disclosure of a student's home address, home telephone number, biography, family, physiology, religion, academic achievement, or physical or mental ability. Plaintiff specifically requested that said information be redacted. So, again, this is what he is saying is the issue here. He filed a Maryland Public Information request seeking investigation records for information gathering of racial harassment of students at FCPS. They denied him under the guidelines of MPIA and FERPA, saying that they cannot release this information. This is protected information, and they are not going to release it. That's the crux of the case right there. Well, he files in this complaint what appears to be, yes, 2 counts. The first count is for count 1, violation of the Maryland Public Information Act, and then count 2, failure to redact and or explain the non-redaction of personally identifiable material within the disclosure. So he's claiming those 2 things right there. And to support this argument for count 2, he says MPIA mandates that when making a denial, a custodian shall give, quote, an explanation of why redacting information would not address the reason for denial. The plaintiff specifically requested redaction of asserted exempt information. Defendant failed to state why redaction would not address the reason for denial. So again, 2 counts for 1 for violating the Maryland Public Information Act disclosure, and then count 2 failing to explain non-redaction. And the relief that this plaintiff is seeking is he's trying to get an order that the defendant immediately produce the requested records and award actual and statutory damages pursuant to Section 4362 of the Public Information Act, and also wants an award of attorney's fees as also laid out under the Maryland Annotated Code. So that's what he's seeking. He's seeking to have those records satisfied, that records request satisfied, and anything that it takes to get that done, he wants to be reimbursed on that. Now, we'll see where it goes. I don't know what else to say about this. I'm not an expert in the field of what can be disclosed under MPIA and what cannot be. That seems like a job for a group of skilled attorneys. So we'll see where it goes, but an interesting case. In Frederick, Maryland, we have seen cases like this come before the courts before, and cases that have been litigated successfully as well. So we'll see where it goes. So again, just another lawsuit in what appears to be the never-ending cycle of people filing litigation against Frederick County Public Schools. Has to be doing a wonder on the amount of money that the taxpayers will have to spend on FCPS liability insurance. And with that, we'll catch you. Levi Trumbull reporting in Frederick County, Maryland.